I don't have the other on the top of my head. Women die from abortion.
What do you think? Is it fair to compare them, or are they totally different?
I guess the correlation of institutionalized mass murder is very broad. It's understandable.
If they're all innocent people being killed, then it holds up. If they're not, then we're wrong. That's why we say they are innocent people. Do you think
as a man, I can't hold a position.
What? Oh, come on. Are you a police officer?
No.
Are you black? Do you have? No, you're not. Do you have an opinion or a position on the killing of black men by police officers in the Black Lives Matter movement?
No.
Are you from this country? Okay. You've got to have some position. No, could you have a position? Would it be justifiable for you to have a position of sorts?
I think it depends. Are we like exploring a hypothetical scenario, or
a lot of hypotheticals,
or just the current status of criminal justice in this country?
Just any subject you don't have direct interaction with. Are you saying that you don't have a right to have an opinion about something going on in the Middle East because you've never been there? Or you don't have a right to have an opinion about public schools because maybe you don't have kids? Human rights have no gender, you know.
Sure. But then again, I biologically can't speak on the conscious decision to terminate pregnancy. I can't. Who am I to infringe on a woman's rights?
Well, if we found a woman who was beating the living daylights out of a 1-year-old, would you infringe on her right to do that?
Then it gets into a tricky situation.
You wouldn't do that?
It's also
you wouldn't stop her?
But that's different. That's not
How's it
something
different?
because that's not something that she does to herself. That messes with her body.
Okay. Well, what if the 1-year-old was, I don't know, yanking her hair hard or causing her to gain weight or some other thing that's harming her body? Would she be okay beating her up then?
No, she wouldn't be okay beating her up, but that's her choice to beat her up or not.
But
and it's a
should
wrong
it be legal?
choice. It's a wrong choice.
Yes. Should it be legal?
Well, it's illegal.
Well, abortion's legal, though. Now, what is the meaningful difference between abortion and a woman beating up a born child?
Because that's illegal.
No, okay.
That is something that she's consciously deciding to do to her child, and that's her choice. She's going to have consequences for it, but that's still her choice.
Should abortion be illegal in the same way? It's also a choice.
It's your choice, but it's not illegal.
Why should it be legal?
In the end, it's the bad choice for her, and she regrets it, just like in the end, the bad choice was to beat up your child.
Yes.
But it's not...
To me, they're one and the same. You know,
okay,
I don't see a hard line boundary between those things. But I don't mention God unless there's a reason to mention him in the subject. You know, to us, the fetus, the embryo from fertilization, we see no reason to say that they're not fully human, you know, in a human rights sense. They're not adult by any means, but they're fully human, and therefore we should treat them like any other human.
But then has their mother not technically classified as a minor then?
But technically classified as a minor? I would assume so.
Then who has guardianship?
Parents. But guardianship doesn't include the right to kill the kid being guarded.
I mean, it does when it's legal.
Okay. We're here to point out that we don't think it should be legal. I grant you that it's thought of as legal in the United States.
It is.
But legality should be based on morality, you know? We think it's wrong for people to do certain things. Well, that is also a moral argument when it comes down to it. Economic impact of abortion, I'd say, is ultimately negative. It reduces the number of taxpayers. It reduces the number of people who are around to invent things that can help mankind. And I think in general, it just teaches human beings to run from their problems instead of tackling their problems head on.
But what if infanticide and gendercide in India, in areas with extreme cases of poverty, where mothers institutionalize murder infant daughters for fear of economic liability?
That's bad too. I think it should all be illegal.
Then again, do we as Americans have a right to criticize the actions of another society, understanding cultural implications?
You should be able to understand all as much as you can, every implication of a moral decision. But if you're going to hold off before you know everything about every subject and never criticize anything, you'll never do anything.
I mean, we can't. I mean, is it possible to fully understand a situation from the outside?
No, but I think you can understand the most important concepts of certain basic things, like this one.
That's the right one.
Yeah.
It's tough, because it doesn't make conflict, and there are many sides to the argument. It's just hard because everyone... It's hard.
Of course.
It's not easy. It's complex, and there's various sides of it, from a moral and economic, and even religious point of view. But then it comes to us. But then, between you and me, excluding her, we are men.
Yes.
They are women.
Yeah.
We are. If someone tried to speak for me,
I don't know how that applies to whether something should be illegal or not. Her body is more immediately affected, but the baby is not her body. The baby is an independent person. Otherwise, why would they have different DNA?
father.
Oh, of course.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
Because the baby is a combination of mother and father genes. And the reason why the genes are different is because there are genes from the father.
Yes.
And I mean, I heard them talking about this earlier, but if the woman is raped, why would she want those genes in her body? Why would she want to produce a human that comes from such a terrible person to do that? Why should they be allowed to be out in the world?
Because human rights are independent of someone's parentage. I mean, you could make the same argument about someone who is already born and his dad was a rapist. You know, what right does he or she have to live? You know,
yeah, but that's another prerogative, but they're not there.
Oh, not after they're born. Then you put her in jail if she tries anything like that, you know.
But they could have, she could have aborted the child, who's pregnant with him. It's completely different.
Why is that morally different? Yeah, what?
Can the state establish a position by which a minor, aka the child in question, has the ability to declare for it?
It's what?
Does the state have that ability to declare that a child at that stage of life is designate that? Do they have the cognitive ability to speak for themselves?
Well, I don't think they can. But the state always assumes, and I think they should, that the right to life is intrinsic into someone's being and is irrelevant of whether they have said that they want to live or not. The only exception to that recently in Western culture when people deliberately say they want to die, which I also think is a bad idea, but it's not quite the same thing as abortion.
Yeah, as a doctor assisted suicide.
Yeah. Now, if somebody, if somebody is dying of a terminal disease, right, and they haven't said, let me die, they fall down on the street, bystanders pick them up and carry them in a hospital, all right, maybe not terminal disease, but something very serious. The doctors always assume that they want care until that person wakes up and says, I don't want care. Well, I think they usually
and I don't think, the doctors that provide abortion to women have taken an oath to save.
Not anymore. Hippocratic oath used to forbid abortion. Like you're saying, some reason where unless you abort, both mother and child will die. I'd like to caveat that really quickly that there are plenty of abortionists, or at least Nathanson said this. He was an abortionist turned pro-lifer, and this is back in the 70s. Already in America, there's no reason why you would actually have to. But let's say that there is, okay, like ectopic pregnancy where the kid's growing in the fallopian tube. You can't save the child's life or move them down a uterus right now, current state of technology, because they wouldn't be able to reattach anything. And they can't live, we don't have iron wombs that could keep the child alive outside,
But we don't.
We don't yet.
That can be fatal.
No, of course it would. Both fatal to mother and child.
You guys definitely
The right move there, the ethical move, is to, again, treat the situation like you have two patients, all right? Moving one patient from a place where they don't belong away from that place, like you would be moving the embryo out of the fallopian tube, does not amount to killing them, even though it will lead to their death because they can't survive where they do belong in the uterus. and doing so will save the mother's life.
But in such a case as an ectopic pregnancy, if it is a situation where you're looking to reverse, do they even have that?
No, that's too late. You know, I don't know what the doctor would do then. But
in that case, I think you have to go family. That's a
of course,
that's a situation.
you'd have to take the fetus out of the mother's body, and the fetus would die. But they're not dying because we killed them. They died because we removed them from. They were basically incompatible with life anyway. They weren't where they should be to conduce for their growth, and the mother would live.
And what about in the circumstances of mental, or the same issue of like mental disability or chromosomal defects?
Who, the child or the mother?
Yeah, the child.
Or the mother.
Well, we can judge that somebody's incapable of being a parent, certainly, and under certain circumstances somebody else can have guardianship. But I would not see that as a reason to kill the offspring, just as much as it wouldn't be a reason to kill the offspring if they were born. Down syndrome kid, or something more serious than that, yeah, they're disabled. They don't have the brain power that a normal human being should have, although frankly they're much more happy than a lot of us are.
Oh, yeah.
You know. But just as we would never be justified in killing a Down syndrome born person because the parents couldn't handle it or they were worried about the life the Down syndrome child was having, we shouldn't be justified in trying to take their life before they're born.
See, my thing is then, why does this then only apply to humans? Why is the human life more valuable? You know, do you eat eggs?
I do.
Eggs like omelets? Okay, do you know how a chicken embryo is formed? It is formed inside the yolk. And so you are eating aborted chicken.
I'm pretty sure that, at least in this country, the eggs we eat are non-fertilized. You know, they keep the roosters away from the hens. But you know, even if we were, you know, I admit I do place humans at a higher, more status than animals. And I could be wrong on that. Vegetarianism may be the way to go. But that would just make me a hypocrite. It wouldn't mean, you know.
That's not me.
But then we're establishing that a human life is
Sure.
okay.
I assume most people agree with that. Occasionally I find people that don't, but, you know.
What about stem cell research?
Depends on if you're talking about adult stem cells or embryonic stem cells.
Embryonic, considering.
That's when everything, you know, is developing, and that's the easiest way to detect, you know, causes of certain genetic mutations and cause genetic diseases. If that can save, one abortion can save the lives of thousands of babies.
Well,
that may die right after birth because they, you know, do research about this one genetic defect that does kill the baby. What's your opinion on that?
even if that were true, and I'll find you a story here that kind of demonstrates so far.
I wonder your opinion.
Sure, I'll try to get to my testimony. I don't think it is moral to terminate the life of an innocent person simply because doing so may down the road save the life of a bunch of other innocent persons. Just as it would be, it's called the train and the fat man scenario. You ever heard of that? Kind of like you're standing on a balcony, right, with train tracks going underneath on a bridge. Train tracks go underneath the bridge. You look down and you see that the tracks are ruptured behind you, right, and the train is going to hit it, and the train is going to flip over, and all the people inside are going to die. All right. Well, the fat man standing next to you, looking down at this thing, and you realize, hey, if I push the fat man over the bridge, he'll hit the tracks, the train will smack into him. He's so heavy, the train will slow down, and it won't hit the rails, and it won't. All those people will be saved.
I think a moral person, if he was a moral person, he'd do it himself if he knew.
Well, he may sacrifice his life.
So, if a moral person knew that, you know, if they knew they didn't want the baby, if there was no way that the baby would have a good life, then, and they knew that it would help a lot of other people, then I think that's the moral thing to do.
Are we justified in making them do it, in taking their life?
No, the woman is choosing to do it.
But she's choosing to take somebody else's life.
Yeah, it's her body.
Is it her body?
Yeah, it's inside of her.
Does
it's
something,
not sitting next to her.
No, but does the fact that something inside of you make it your body?
Yes, because it causes actual physiological side effects on the woman.
It doesn't make you your body. You can have a disease and it's not part of your body. I know it's a horrible comparison, but you know.
No, but the bacteria is inside your body when you have a disease. The genetic, if it's a genetic mutation or genetic disease, those genes are inside your body, so it all is your body.
Well, then why kill it? You know, that would be like saying some part of your body is bad. Now, I've heard,
I mean, it might be. If I have a disease, I'm gonna kill it. If I
Back up.
get a big, if I have cancer and I have a tumor, I'm gonna
Yes.
kill it because that's part of my body. It's a bad part of my body.
Yeah, but cancer's not an independent organism. Although I admit we could make it a lot more simpler and say a tapeworm. You know, a tapeworm is clearly not part of an organism.
kill it.
That's right, but it's not part of your body either, is it? Just like
It is,
the,
if it's
just like
inside
the
my body
fetus.
causing physiological effects, then yes, it becomes a part of my body.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that the definition of, you know, something is inside you and affecting you? It's therefore a part of your body?
Do you not maintain the individual right to control what happens inside your body?
Not to that extent, no.
Why?
Because there's an independent person inside that body. You know? And I think I would say the same thing if it was men going through it.
But does the state not designate you as the guardian and the sole?
Guardianship doesn't denote the right to kill something. Just like I might have a pet, but I can't abuse the pet.
Although you don't technically sign the birth certificate or have your guardianship until so.
Well, you don't know whether they're going to be born. I think you should. I mean, I think we ought to do that, but
So what?
sign some sort of guardianship certificate before, you know, after fertilization if we know it. In the old days, you know, laws governing that came from days where they really didn't know how a child developed in the womb. They didn't know when human life actually began. They just know you have sex, 9 months down the road, a baby could be there.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry?
I was like, oh my god, that's how it happens. I just don't know. No, go for it.
We're just contemplating, thinking, discussing.
It's hot out here.
From Florida.
Like the old man. Florida's a snarky place?
No.
Yeah, you guys have been far more polite and far more open-minded than a lot of people that disagree with us. So
Yeah.
kudos to
I mean,
that.
everyone's gonna have. Yeah.
That is absolutely, I think.
Yeah, and I see the justification in everything you're saying. It's just as a woman, I personally, like, if I wanted an abortion, I would get one. Just because I would. But maybe it's not the most moral thing to do, but if I had to, I would do it if the circumstances, you know, if I knew the child wasn't going to have a good life, if I knew that, you know, I might be prone to postpartum depression and that would really affect my life, and even if I didn't keep the baby, you know, that would seriously affect my life and that would be awful. And I know that there are, you know, psychological effects that come after abortion, but if, I don't know.
If your
I
definition...
don't want to go through all of that, then I would do it. And I understand that, you know, people think it's immoral, and that's fine. I mean, I don't plan on getting pregnant anytime soon. But
be aware, a lot of the, and I'm not asking you to elaborate on your, I'm assuming you're married or dating or something like that. Okay.
it's complicated.
I'm not. A lot of the things that are marketed as birth control right now do have a maybe 1% chance of causing a very early abortion. That was part of the whole dust-up over Obamacare, because these drugs that the insurance companies need to pay for, pretty good evidence in some cases that can cause that. So if you're using them and sexually active enough.
Would it be fair to like say that not so much abortion, but what about like alternative like sexual prevention, like condoms and birth control?
Yeah, that's
in order to prevent this.
That's true. Birth control is actively preventing a child from entering this world. So
Well,
what is that?
if it's this kind, it may also be abortive, but even if it's just like a condom or something, no, that wouldn't be killing someone.
But could we go a step further and say that a way to limit abortion is to get through education of safe sexual practices?
That's, when you talk about safe sexual practices, it's kind of a buzzword, because people mean different things by that.
To engage in sexual intercourse in a safe way that is not harmful.
You would imagine so, but we believe, and of course the safe sex advocates will throw a different set of statistics at you, I'm sure, but we think the evidence shows fairly well that when you promote that sort of thing in a culture, after a while, you get just as many unplanned pregnancies as before, if not more. Reason being that, well, you're taking a culture that has sexual morose and where people generally wait until marriage, to do it, because they don't want to get in trouble, if you will, or have the responsibility of a child, so they remain chaste. And you're teaching them, well, if you just use this device, it won't happen to you. And of course, people being what people are, more people are going to be having more sex more often because they think they're safe. It's not going to result in anything. So there
is fallibility to the mechanism, obviously, that are meant to prevent pregnancy. But you should take every precaution. You should go the extra left. It is a man's prerogative to wear a condom, a woman to go take birth control, even so she could also in their device.
UID, IUD.
Like, even after using all those mechanisms, is that not more practical, more effective then is it not like, then why wait till we come to this stage and not attack it from go even earlier, go beyond fertilization?
Well, there are people who would do that, and I, for one, don't think, I don't think sexual activity outside of marriage is ethical, okay? And things that promote that, such as contraception, and I'm kind of borderline on that personally. I know the Catholics think it's definitely wrong for a range of reasons. I don't think overall it's a great idea to promote amongst a culture. If it's a choice between that and having an abortion, well, I can see why it'd be better to at least commit one type of immoral thing with contraception, if it is immoral, than to kill somebody. But I hesitate to promote something that I think is wrong in itself as a solution for something worse.
And it's totally respectable to assume the religious view on that, because it is that's also equally controversial, and it's very, and it also depends who you are and how you're raised and what you believe. From a state level, since the genuine nature of the state is to be separate from religion, the practical implications does that not supersede the religious factor?
I don't think. When we say separation of church and state, we mean a different thing now than they meant back in 1789 or whatever. They didn't mean that somebody's governmental opinions or political opinions didn't come from moral opinions, which in turn come from religious convictions. They just meant that you couldn't establish things like you had freedom of conscience. You couldn't force people to attend a certain church or pay a tax to a certain church or be arrested and thrown out of the colony if you had a particular religious bent, but it doesn't mean the religion is separate completely from politics. If you worship the Aztec god Tlaloc or something like that, and you think the world's going to fall apart unless you sacrifice somebody on the summer solstice on a temple, you might do that. The government's going to stop you. Okay? Why? Because they don't think that's going to happen, and it's not moral to kill an innocent person to Tlaloc. Someone could easily say, you're infringing on my religious belief, and we are. But that's no government is completely free of religious conviction.
It's tough because when one adds contradictory where we intend to have a moral impetus, yet we are trying to represent a plurality of individuals that are comprised of different belief systems.
Right.
That it's an innate paradigm. So I see your point. It is difficult, but there must be a level of personal responsibility that the state can assume that role if it is not infringing your religious beliefs or private beliefs or private beliefs. So then it has to condemn. So then who's responsible for the education? Is that the parent?
I'd say by natural law, education of a child is primarily the parent's responsibility. We only had public schools past 200 years, in the Western world. They're a nice thing, but they need to be answerable to parents primarily. And I know parents can screw up and do stupid things, but somebody is going to be responsible for teaching those kids that stuff. And it's either the parents who, we think nature has given them that right, and nature's God, and nothing has given them that right, their primary right within certain bounds. Or we leave it to a bunch of strangers, who might have good intentions, but who have no intrinsic guardianship over the child.
Just like
the community, through the state, When the community forces somebody to do something, they become the state, if I can use the term correctly.
In terms of like a stream, as in like a sexual education class.
Oh, that? I don't see anything. We've been having children, you know, and taking care of them for hundreds and hundreds of years before we thought we needed to educate them in a public school to do it. You know, and I wouldn't say that our society has grown better at preventing unwanted pregnancy and taking care of kids when they're born.
I will say, I was shown my sexual education class in 8th grade, so very graphic PowerPoint that prevented me from having sex for a very long time.
What was it? A picture of sex?
No. It was real graphic of like STIs and things like that, and so I think it just depends on what, you know, angle you approach it from. Because everyone that was sitting there with me during that like presentation, like we all waited. We were much later than anyone else we had been in college, or you know, or other people that came into high school from other schools. So I think it really just like prevention is, I think, very practical. It just depends on the angle. You know, if you sit there with like little diagrams, like this is the mommy, this is the daddy, like that's not, you know, that's not adequate sexual education. But it's just, I don't know. I think it is preventable. Just depends on the angle you approach it from. And then it wouldn't even have to, you know, come to that.
I think there's so many other avenues to be able to tackle this issue than if it's arguably trying to question a woman's right to do, if we're going to establish that it is her right to control her body. I think there are other ways. I think you can have, I think there can be an equal ground. Do you agree? Like,
there could be a what?
An equal ground in which we can move away from this practice and try to limit ourselves to a very controlled, responsible, sexual practice. That's appropriate for it to use.
I certainly hope it will come down to that. I mean, we can't go on like we are right now without, even if abortion is made illegal, worse problems happening. But would you say then that the abolitionists of the 19th century were wrong in attacking the practice of slavery instead of the economic situation that made slavery feasible in the South?
Since we fought a war over it, anyway, still reaping the historical consequences of the decision. State attempted to intervene, but with the Emancipation Proclamation, they yielded the disastrous consequences that led to the breakup of the Union. It becomes more of a, how do you must look at it from either a state or moral perspective. The state being the institution it is, and it established itself in moral constructs. When, as you've also pointed out, you have the Nazi Party, which instituted a moral doctrine of supremacy, of cleansing, and the community that is involved in lynching. I mean, in lynching in some degree, in very isolated communities, was a punishment designated by the court system after the committal of crime. So it comes to the argument: does government have a role like this?
Because government can also do bad things.
Yeah.
Well, they say that none of us is as stupid as all of us. You know, and the bigger the government, the bigger the infringement, the bigger its ability to harm you and do terrible things to you. But what's the solution? Anarchy? I mean, you know, until people, like Hamilton said, if men were angels, no government would be necessary.
True.
I do not believe we are angels. Being a religious Christian person, I do believe that God can make us far better than we are, and eventually will if we permit Him to. But in this world, we are not, and most people are always going to rebel, and therefore human government is essential to you know, hold up basic human rights here. Which is why I find it so ironic the government is so invested in things that, frankly, while perhaps good things, healthcare, the various social programs of uplift, the public school system, multitude of things, while maybe good things, are not things that are necessary to satisfy human rights, and is abandoning the right to life to a whole class of human beings. Very backwards to me. I wouldn't say the government in any form has a responsibility to take care of everybody's problems and make sure they don't fall on hard times and make sure they're educated well and make sure they can achieve their goals. but they are responsible for making sure you don't get murdered. Like I said, this has more in-depth information about what we're talking about. If you're open-minded or willing enough to read it back in the hotel room or something like that before you toss it, I'd very much appreciate you giving it a shot. Appreciate that.
It's nice to talk to someone about this that actually has like a very in-depth opinion and is educated on this and knows. You know, because I've obviously spoken to other people that are like, no, it's bad because murder, that's it, bye, and like has nothing further to offer.
You need to be able to respect the argument.
Yeah, yeah, definitely respect it.
Can I give a different take on that? Respect the person. Don't respect an argument. An argument is crap if it's wrong. If my argument is wrong, forget about it. But I appreciate you respecting me, because even if I'm a fool, I'm still a human being, we say created in God's image, and therefore intrinsically important.
Yeah, never disrespect a person because of their opinion, even if they're different from your own.
Thank you. I don't need to hold you here. I mean, I'll keep talking if you got more questions, but you don't have to hang around and, you know, do whatever.
Thank you so much.
What are your names?
Jake.
Jake. Good to meet you both. God bless you, okay? Take care of yourselves.